Hey y'all, what's good? I'm coming to y'all with this video that I told the person I would do. It stems directly from a conversation that I had, and I think it's actually an important video from a literary perspective. As I told the person, I come from a literary perspective and be on the watch out for this video. Now, I did already explain in this conversation that the person and I was having, and it kind of transferred to this situation because the person had a few questions about some things that was bothering the person. Like I said, I answered the question, but I would like to, give my thoughts and expound upon certain answers I gave in this video. All right, first I'll read what the person said, and then I'll read my 5 points, because it was 5 points that I gave, and we'll go from there. All right. Now, here's where, because it starts in the middle of a comment that the person said. He says, "I've got one more thing to ask, since nobody's really covered this topic, so hear me out." All right, I hear you. You coming to me with that fire, I'm gonna hear you and hear what you got to say. I've seen this very little in shonen type anime. Okay, for those who don't know, shonen is like anime. Its age group is namely targeting males between the ages of 12 to 18. Although people of all ages and the different sexes watch it. Anyways, I've seen this very little in shonen type anime. Main character deaths. Actually, you'll rarely see that in literature. Period. Now, I know they don't want to kill off the main character, because if they do, then obviously there's no story. Not necessarily, but it makes it very difficult as a story. Sorry if there's the glare. That's me reading off of a phone here. Now, I know they don't want to kill off the main character, because if they do, then obviously there's no story. But I could see it working with these two scenarios, however you want to say it. Number one, they could have another character take over as the main lead, or, that's very reasonable. Thank you for admitting the truth. Number two, bringing the main character back to life somehow, which has been done. Goku did it, twice? He came back to life twice, I think he did. I believe so. And Dragon Ball / Dragon Ball Z. For option two, that main character doesn't even have to be brought back on the good side. Very well thinking here. I like that. He or she could be evil. Who knows? Which is reasonable. It doesn't have to be a good or evil situation, but I like where it's going. Lastly, this is the last point of the last little paragraph. The question is it good or bad? Is it a good or bad option to kill off the main character, granted that they include one of the two scenarios listed above? Now, I'll repeat the different scenarios that was listed. Number one, they could have another character take over as the main lead, or number two, bring the main character back to life somehow. For option two, the main character doesn't have to be brought back on the good side. He or she could be evil, who knows? Now, I will deal with those 2 points before I deal with my answer. With those 2 points, somebody taking over. That's the simplest and most logical case to do. But here's the thing: it's very hard. It's very, very hard to take over for a main lead, especially if depends on how much you've invested in a character. Now, usually when somebody can take over or starts to taking over in the stories, it's a deuteragonist situation, meaning there's relative in this day and age two protagonists. It used to be in Greek. If you go back and do the research of Greek drama, the deuteragonist was there was the protagonist, that was the main character. The deuteragonist was the second most important character, and it often was the antagonist, and then there was a tritagonist. I forget the exact name, but it's pretty much a tritagonist, and the third most important character. But in this day and age, the deuteragonist often is a companion, kind of a sidekick, Batman and Robin situation. From classic literature, you had the Don Quixote and Sancho. I forget it. Y'all know Pancho, I think so. I could go pretty much. And Naruto is actually Naruto in both Hunter x Hunter. If you know both manga and anime, from Naruto you have Naruto, Uzumaki Naruto. He's the main protagonist, and the deuteragonist is Uchiha Sasuke. Okay, and then Hunter x Hunter you have Gon Freaks. He's the protagonist, and the deuteragonist is Killua Zoldyck. Now, in those cases, especially especially in Hunter x Hunter, you could actually have Gon die and Killua take over, because Killua actually gets the most character development. We know Gon's the protagonist, but Killua, he's right up there with it. In the situation of Sasuke and Naruto, they kind of need each other. So, it depends on how the story, and I'll get into more of it later. But yes, you can have it. It's difficult, but to say the least, it's difficult, and it usually results in too much character development for the main characters and not enough for the rest of the cast. I'm just saying. Now, as far as in the revival of the dead, oh yeah, you can. It's much more thought has to come into it with the story. But this could take so many different avenues. I don't even want to spend time on talking to revival of the dead, from actually reviving from the dead, from kind of the spirit situation. A lot of it would be on the supernatural side, through dreams, from the spirit and doubt. Something they do with some reincarnation. I don't know, man. It could, a whole different kind of world situation. You could have a kind of a Yusuke Urameshi situation from Yu Yu Hakusho, for example. So, it did it two ways. They brought back from the dead. But anyways, to my actual comments, my actual responses, I answered the person to the question. Once again, the question is it good or bad option? Is it a good or bad option to kill off the main character? Granted, they include one of these two scenarios listed above. I answered this saying, to kill off the main character, at least 3 of these 5 criteria. I came up with 4 relatively easy. I had to think about the 5th one. To kill off the main character, at least 3 out of 5 of these criteria must be met. Number 1, the character and the supporting cast must be developed enough that the story can be supported without him, talking about the main character, and nothing is left lacking in the story. Now, I'm going to give 2 examples. Well, actually 3. I'll give 3. They all come from manga. Well, actually, no, I'll give 4. I'll give 4 quick ones. Number 1, I'll begin with, what did I just say? The story, Attack on Titan, aka Shingeki no Kyojin. Very popular, because of the anime that was released last year. When Shingeki no Kyojin, this isn't really a spoiler, it's been out for forever, but in, I believe, it was either episode 6 or 7, appears Eren Yeager, the main character, the main protagonist. He dies. And that shocked everybody. If you watched it, you shocked, because it's like so much was put into Eren. If Eren, I'm like, everybody's like, he has to come back. He literally had to come back. The story would have been incomplete without Eren coming back. You had to have him. The story wasn't mature enough. Okay? Now, if he would say have died at the end of season 1 in the anime, okay, now we actually can continue, because we have Mikasa, Armin, you had my dog, Zoe, you had Hanji Zoe, and my dog Levi. You had a whole slew of the cast. The cast was developed enough by that point. But if he would have died in episode 6, 7, oh no. The story, oh no. That would have been one of the worst moves ever. One of the worst moves ever. Now, Toriko, my second option. Toriko, the way he is now, if he were to die, The story could support it, but it's not far enough along for Toriko to die. It's just not far enough along. We just got back, considering the spot, we just got back in the manga, from a time skip. Toriko couldn't die now. There's too much of the story left to develop for that to happen. Now, in the case of One Piece, for example, if Luffy died right now, oh no. It's not only that he wouldn't complete his goal of Pirate King. He's pivotal. The Straw Hats the Straw Hat crew as a whole is pivotal to the One Piece storyline. Like they're one of the main, if not the main, they're the main force that's helping to bring change. Besides Marshall D. Teach, Blackbeard, Marshall D. Teach, and some of the other supernovas, but mainly the Straw Hats and the Blackbeard Pirates are really the ones pushing change in the story. And fourth, if for example Anakin Skywalker, even though we saw the original trilogy was actually him already Darth Vader, if say Anakin would have died as Vader after his battle with Obi-Wan Kenobi, good lord, slip of tongue, my bad. If he would have died there, oh lord, oh no. I mean, do we even have a Luke Skywalker? Do we have... That would have killed the story. It would have killed the story. And, we wouldn't have had arguably one of the greatest villains ever in Darth Vader. So, it is what it is. Now, point number 2. There must be a legitimate reason, i.e., a purpose as to why a character who's important in the story is killed off. That goes for any of the main characters. Now, I'll break that down. I'll break both of those parts down. Now, in the case of, for example, Goku. When Goku gets killed off, let's see, how many times does that happen? I'll do both situations. When he gets killed off with Raditz, he died a noble death. And the story wasn't complete, but he died a noble death. He really did. Which was very cool. Very, very cool. The way he went out was a G. And his son, and it allowed for Gohan to get development. It allowed for Gohan to start his journey of character development. It allowed for Piccolo to get character development. Allowed for Tien, not so much. But the rest of it was mainly Gohan and Piccolo. Okay? Piccolo definitely turned from his rival at that point to Gohan's kind of adoptive father action there. And I believe we did get to see some Chi-Chi character development as well. Now, the second time Goku dies, he goes out even more nobly. He goes out saving the world, okay? He went out like a G. Although it turned out not to, it kind of was negated because of how Perfect Cell was. And Perfect Cell came back farther. But Goku both times went out very noble. And it required that the rest of the supporting cast step up. But they were developed enough. See, the first time was character development. The second time, it was development. Piccolo was already developed enough the first time. So you see, it worked. It worked in both scenarios. But you still wanted Goku back. Because Goku, not only was he the protagonist, he was the heart and soul of the story. It's kind of how on the Luffy situation. He's the heart and soul of the story right now. Okay? Now, with the rest of the main characters, I'll again go back to, if you would, Attack on Titan. Now, if Eren, Mikasa, and Armin were to die off by the end of season 1, that kind of screws up the whole storyline, okay? Or if early on, if Mikasa died off, if Armin died off, because of the roles they played later, they weren't developed enough. So, it's important. Number 3, and it's important. Why? Because my third point, timing is everything. A main character's death, now that's just not the main character, but a main character of the main cast, right? A main character's death, whether positively or negatively, will have major impact on the story. Now, I don't know how much I'll have to, expound upon it, but I'll use manga that I review, like I review Toriko, Magi of the Labyrinth of Magic. If, for example, I could pick whether it be Aladdin, Alibaba, Morgiana, Rin Hakuryu, Sinbad, even though some may say he's a secondary, he's a main character. Rin Cohen at this point. There's actually quite a few main characters. Unity. Ring Gilchrist, even though they seemingly secondary characters, they're important characters. There's a lot of important characters in the Magi world currently. So if any one of actually about a dozen different characters die, it'll change the whole course of the story for a positive or a negative manner. You know, whether it be good or bad, actually story from a story writing standpoint, or actually if it'll be a positive for the world or a negative, it'll bring the world down. Okay, something to think about. Now, number 4, I said, what kind of story is it? Most people don't understand the magnitude that genre has on how a story is written, displayed, and or told. Now, this point also kind of correlates to another point I made in a discussion I had with a dude about, I think it was One Piece, with it, as far as being an adventure story that determines on how a story is written. It does, and it determines, you know, the character development, the characterization, how a story is written, what kind of genre it is. You can get away with character deaths. You can get, actually, if it's a sci-fi story, more than likely, because sci-fi often ends up in some kind of war-like situation, I mean serious war, realistic, you can probably get away with a few main character deaths. It's just how it is. If it's fantasy, depends. If it's high fantasy, yes. If it's an adventure story, not so much. If it's a fairy tale, at the end, it depends on what the time of the story. But the more closely it is that the characters are central to the plot, let's just go with that. And certain genres have more centralized character plots than others, the more important it is for a main character to die. I mean, or not to die. Okay. So I'm not saying in sci-fi that a main character's death isn't important. For example, if you take Dune or the Foundation series, dog, it's been a while since I read it, but in Dune, you had the main character, the prince. If he were to die, it would suck, but there's other characters that we could follow. It's just how it is. He was important for the story to progress, but at a certain point, he could definitely die. Oh yeah. I haven't finished the Dune, and that's one of the things I need to get on. I need to finish it. But anyways, another topic for another day. Anyways, he could die. In the Foundation series, the dude, even though we follow him and he was important, somebody else could take it over. Somebody else could take it over. Yeah, it's just what it is. I mean, his character was alright, but, you know, he had also kind of how the plot drove him as much as he drove himself. So it was a very interesting scenario. But anyways, not make this video too long. Point number 5. The story is in need of at least one plot twist. That helps determine a hell of a lot. Some stories don't need plot twists. Some story, if the story, the way it's going, you know, it seems too simplistic, too cliche, on some freaking Kill la Kill status, and all of a sudden we just had plot twists. Now, we ain't had the character deaths like that, but I'm just saying, though, Kill la Kill has dropped several plot twists. So, you know, if you check out whatever. But yeah, now I'm just telling you to do my channel. But anyways, yeah, if a story is in need of a shocker, if it's in need for suspense, you know, just a gut-wrenching change up the whole game, then yeah, main character death, oh yeah, kill him off. I could definitely see, potentially, not now, but, you know, in the future, oh yeah, Hunter x Hunter is what I meant to say. Oh yeah, I could see Hunter x Hunter. Like, again, it depends on the genre, it depends on how the story's written, it depends on the focus that been put on the protagonist, the main character, and whatnot. If I'll do Watership Down, a very famous novel. If Watership Down, Hazel would have died. It would have sucked, but yeah, we could have moved on. You had Dandelion, you had Bigwig, I forget, Fiverr, even though Fiverr wasn't that important, Fiverr was still important. Animal Farm. Shoot, who was the main protagonist? Who was the main protagonist? I mean, hell, we had Boxer die in Animal Farm, and that was huge. Yeah, we offed him. He was. I wouldn't say the protagonist, but he was one of the main characters, and he died, and that affected the whole story. So yeah, man, it affected for a lot of reasons. But and I think I talked about that in the symbolism and Animal Farm. But anyways, unexpected one to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me your thoughts on this subject. What do you think about main characters dying? How do you think it affects the story? What stories can you mention where you disagree with the main character dying, where you agree with the main character dying? Which stories would you like to see the main character die? It might be a few shots fired, but I'm just saying. And yeah, y'all, till next time. Peace. Have a good day. But one last note. If there's any videos y'all would like me to do on subjects such as this, just let me know. Hit me up in the comment section and whatnot, and we do this. We in here. Let's go.